Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Tour Confidential. I'm Ryan Asselt, and happy to be joined this week by Golf.com's Alan Bastable and Sean Zock. And guys, Justin Thomas just keeps on doing what he did all of last season, and that is win. He does over at the CJ Cup, the inaugural event in South Korea. He beats Mark Leishman in a 2-hole playoff. Alan, this guy's been on a tear. 5 wins in the calendar year of 2017, 6 going back to the start of last season, 7 in his career. When you look at JT, what he's done, he was the FedEx Cup champ, he wins a major. The comparison obviously is to Jordan Spieth, their friendship and their track record so far. What is it that JT does better than Spieth at this point?
How sick is he of that question? It's amazing. Even yesterday he comes in and there were 3 questions at least in the press conference about Jordan Spieth. When are we going to be able to appreciate this guy without comparing him to Jordan Spieth? But alas, here we are talking about Jordan Spieth. So listen, I mean, the obvious thing is he's longer. He's got him by 15 yards on the tee. Other than that, I would take every part of Spieth's game, I think, over Thomas's. Not to take anything away from what he's done over the last year, but he's still got a ways to go before we can put him in Spieth's class. I mean, 3 major wins, 7 top 10s in the major. Thomas obviously won his last major appearance, but he only has 2 top 10s in the majors. He still has some work to do, I think, in those big events before we can put him in Spieth's class, regardless of the world number 3 ranking.
Sean, he vaults to number 3 in the world. When we talk about that gap possibly between Thomas and Spieth, is that what it is really, what Alan is saying, just a matter of majors and more solid finishes in majors, and obviously there's a 2 major championship gap between the 2 of them?
Yeah, it's also doing it more than once. He's only done it once in 2016 to 2017 season. Jordan Spieth basically has had 3 really, really good seasons on the PGA Tour. His game all around, from driving to putting, tee to green, Jordan Spieth has it all taken care of. Occasionally, Thomas doesn't exactly hit the ball as accurately off the tee as people like to think that he bombs it off the tee. So maybe doing it more than once for 1 full season and then another full season, that'll probably squeeze the gap between the 2 guys. Doing it in the big events. You forget that this year, Thomas started out in Hawaii, 2 wins, right? Then he goes the next 13 weeks, and his next 13 starts, and he misses 6 cuts. People forget about that stretch when he was kind of in a bit of a lull. He jumped out of it, obviously, at the PGA, but he's got to do it for more than one year. If he does it twice, then it's a different story.
He's shown he's the international player. He's won all over the world at this point. Is he built better for the majors, Alan? When you talk about some of these major championships, we always see at the U.S. Open, length is at such a premium. With his length, with his power, we saw his power, second shot on the playoff hole out of the rough on a downhill lie. He carried water, able to get it close to the green. I'm not sure if Spieth has that shot. And as you see majors, rough is thick, length is much longer than we see on the average PGA Tour. Is he built for the long term better than Spieth when it comes to majors?
I think it depends on the major venue. I mean, obviously that will put him in good stead at Augusta, but as Spieth has proven, there's plenty of major setups, particularly U.S. Open, PGA, where accuracy and just sort of mental fortitude will put you in a better place than bombing it off the tee. But I think he has that X factor that obviously Spieth has. He's not afraid of the big moment. He's proven that already at 24. That when things get tight late on a Sunday, he's not going to back down, and that's probably above any characteristic. That's what you need to win majors. So I think you're going to see a few more on his resume before all things are said and done.
Yeah, both guys nothing short of the moxie factor that they need to win more and more major championships. Sean, European Tour, Sergio Garcia wins the Andalusia Masters in his home country of Spain. Haven't heard a lot of Sergio really since the Masters back in April. He obviously got married over the summer, has had a lot going on in his life, and all of a sudden he pops up with a win here in his late 30s, heading into this new part of his career, new part of his life. Could Sergio actually be entering more of his prime late in his career right now?
Yeah, I totally think so, because if you think about guys at this point in their career, they kind of pick and choose where they want to play, events that make sense for them, courses that make sense for them. We've seen Sergio get to that point. It kind of just felt like the monkey that was on his back was more of a gorilla. I mean, the guy ended up contending for a while at the Players. He contended in Texas. We forget that just because he hasn't really won since the Masters, that he still played really good golf, still one of the best ball strikers in the world. So I would be shocked if he didn't continue to play well, because the guy's been a top 20 player for pretty much his entire career. He hasn't lost that. He hasn't lost that talent.
Yeah, Alan, it seems like motivation has been an issue for Sergio at times over the years. Does this luxury of, as Sean said, the monkey off his back, he's got the major, being able to pick and choose not only where he plays, but what he really ramps up his practice schedule for. How important is that for Sergio right now?
Yeah, but I mean, listen, he's had that flexibility for a while now. It's not like just he's had that, over the last couple of years. So I think, clearly he's in a good place in his personal life, but we've seen that in the past where we're like, okay, we think Sergio's figured it out, and then he takes a nosedive. He's very hard to predict. There's been examples of players who've settled down, got married, had kids. Jeff Ogilvy comes to mind, Hunter Mahan, where they've gone the opposite direction, where it doesn't necessarily translate into good play on the course. The bigger thing is obviously getting that major victory. Maybe that'll free him up now when he gets in those big moments on Sunday at the majors, knowing he's done it once. I think that was probably the biggest hurdle to get over. But if it's been a remarkable career. I mean, I think we expected so much of him, but when you look back, 35 plus wins, 10 on the PGA Tour. He's won almost $50 million, just in earnings. Now he's got the major win. It's a pretty stout career. I know the bar was high, but I think it's time to give the guy some credit. Yeah,
credit, continuing to adjust and pivot in his life. He's got the baby on the way, as Alan and I know. It's a new factor into things. Sean has yet to experience that, but we'll see if Sergio can pivot to the next phase of his life and his career successfully. Sean, Alan, thanks for being with us, and thanks for joining us on this edition of Tour Confidential. We'll see you again next week right here on Golf.com.